I'm now going to introduce you to a feature in Microsoft Excel 2007 that I find very helpful, and it's the ability to freeze panes. What I mean by freezing panes is the ability to hold on to a row or a column and keep it pinned to my worksheet, so as I scroll through, I don't lose that information. For example, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I'm going to scroll through this e-cake sales forecast screen, and I'm just going to move down, and you see how I've lost my titles. Now, this is a fairly straightforward table, and I can deduce that this is, my month, this is my quarter, this is my year, here's my channel, here's my dollars. But let's say I had lots of information in here and I wasn't really sure what was in a particular column. I have the ability to freeze this information at the top. Now, there's 3 ways that you can freeze it. If your information is included in the first row of your spreadsheet, you could go to Freeze Panes and select Freeze Top Row. So what this is doing is it's automatically defaulting to keep the top row of your spreadsheet frozen while you scroll through. And you notice once you select that particular command that you see a line here. Okay, so that's indicating that you've frozen that top row. How does this work? In practice, if I was to scroll through, you'll see that I'm only scrolling past row 1. Row 1 is now frozen in place. To undo this, I would simply go back to Freeze Panes and choose the Unfreeze Panes option. I have that very similar ability to freeze a row. So I go to my Freeze Panes choice, I select Freeze First Column, and it defaults to freezing column A. And if I use my navigator at the bottom or my scroll bar at the bottom of my spreadsheet to move along my columns, I can just click on it and you see how my month stays in place. It doesn't move. To unfreeze my column, I simply go back to Freeze Panes and unfreeze my panes. Now in this case, in this particular table that I'm working with, I need to move all the way down to row 3 in order to freeze my information because I want my space row, my title, and my column titles to be frozen in place. So how would I do something like that? Basically what you do is you'd select the cell. And for those of you that are brand new in Excel, I just want to remind you that when I talk about a cell, I'm selecting a particular area in the worksheet denoted by a column letter and a row number to single out a certain area that I'm working with. For those of you that used to play Battleship, it's exactly the same idea. Column B, row 4. That's where I'm going. I'd like to keep the information above this cell and to the right of this cell as I scroll through. So I select the cell where I want the information to be frozen. I go to Freeze Panes and I select the Freeze Panes option. So it's telling me here, it keeps the rows and columns visible while the rest of the worksheet scrolls along based on where, and if you see that little blue cell that's shaded in the description there, that's where you want to place your cell so that you can keep your column and your row above it pinned. So let's see how this works. I've selected B4 as the cell. I select Freeze Panes as my command, and you'll see that you have the lines identifying for you that you're freezing the first 3 rows and the first column of the spreadsheet. If I click off and start to scroll, I'll see that the information is now placed in place, and I keep my month and I keep my tabs at the very top.